How's it? Welcome back. So I had my float tank session today and I spent my time in there specifically focusing on the HRV resonant breathing technique that I got from this book right here, Mastering Meditation. We are currently working our way through this book on the channel right now, actually covering it essentially page by page like I do all my book breakdowns on the channel. So check that out if you're interested, or better yet, well, okay, wait, maybe not better yet, because you should go to my channel and watch those videos. So I'm trying to get the 4,000 watch hours within a year, but you can also go ahead and grab a copy of this book for yourself. I think it's extremely helpful for anyone brand new to the practice. I mean, for sure. But also, I think if you already are well established with the practice, I think this book could definitely help out a lot of people. But for the video today, I thought I would talk about kind of just more broad picture about floating, because it's been a while since I covered it on the channel, and really focus on, if you're brand new to floating, what are some things you could do to kind of help you out with that. Because when I was there today, there was this woman who was coming out of her session as I was chilling with Jeff, and it was her second float ever. And so we were talking a little bit about, being new to floating and some things that could help with that. So we'll hop into that. Before getting to that, though, I got some kind of bummer news, man. My float tank place might be shutting down here in, like this month, essentially, in actually a couple weeks, is like partway through the month. Jeff is going off on vacation, so fingers crossed, that place can keep going. No matter what, Jeff is going to be out. This might have a new owner, but there's some things going on where maybe the location they have might not be able to have it anymore, and then if that happens, then who knows what's going to happen with the floating place. And I don't know if there really is any other floating places on the island. I'm sure there must be some. I know like 10 plus years ago when I was first trying to find a float tank place here, there wasn't any. There was some guys that were doing it out of their house, but their hours were all over the place, or they were shut down, or the tank was broken. And so, I was really happy to find Dream Float Hawaii. The place is super awesome in a dope, beautiful location. I got to meet Jeff. Jeff is like the coolest dude ever. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but god damn, that guy is good. So I was there early today rolling with him, and he was choking my ass out and doing all these weird ankle locks and shit on me. Got to learn a lot from him. So I really hope that place gets to stay open. It's been 10 plus years of me going there essentially once a month the entire time. Got, well, obviously well over 100 floats now. So it would be kind of a trip if the place does shut down and I got to try to find a new place. But then I know any other place I find, I'm not going to be able to get the same deals that I'm getting over there, because I'm essentially grandfathered into the best deals ever when they were first opening up, where it's $50 for 90 minutes. I mean, where else can you get a freaking deal like that? That's nuts. But anyway, so on to the main topic for the video. So before I get to the whole HRV resonant breathing thing and how well it worked in the tank, because it worked extremely well, just some other quick things to kind of go over that I was throwing some of this stuff out to that lady who was coming out when she finished and I was chilling over there. So first of all, that was her second float. I think you definitely need to go, I would say, a bare minimum 3 times to kind of get used to the whole situation and stuff like that. Because even if you are used to meditating and things, it does take some time to kind of get used to that environment. So I think that could be a huge aid. Also, going there with a plan. Over the years, I've brought many people to go try the place out and stuff like that. But, if you have no meditating history whatsoever, then I don't know what you're going to do in that tank. I do know there are some people who go there and they don't have a meditation background, and they say it just really helps in other ways. There's this one guy who goes even more than me. He's been going forever, and he does it not really to focus on his meditation, but he says by going there, it really helps him sleep a lot better. So, there are some other things like that could be beneficial for it. But really, I would say if you're going to go to float, go there to meditate, because it is the absolute best, most ideal environment to be meditating in, period. Better than some dark cave up in the Himalayas, better than everything. That's the absolute best spot. Some other things to go over though is so you have to take a shower before you go in, right? You don't want to go in there dirty. But I'm very specific. My skin's all dry, so it would be cool if you could bring your own bar soap, because other soaps dry my skin out. But Something that I would definitely say to do, right, is when you are showering in there, of course, clean off your whole body and everything like that, but leave your face alone, right? If you get that other kind of soap you're not used to on your face and start to, you'll be in there and you don't want to move while you're in the tank, right? And your face will start getting all itchy, could be bothersome. So don't wash your face, wash and clean everything else. Also, you should totally go in butt ass naked, right? Because if it's supposed to be a sensory deprivation tank, and if you got your clothes on, well, you're going to be able to feel them, and that's going to, add to the senses, and you're trying to cut all that stuff out. Even to the point to where I would say you probably shouldn't even be wearing a watch. Like, I do like to wear a watch in there just so I can kind of check the time. I get kind of paranoid when, like, wondering when the music alarm thing is going to turn on to, like, tell me when to get out of it. So I do like to have that watch, but you can totally feel the watch on your wrist. So, if you're not going to stress out about when the music comes on, then don't wear a watch. But, if you have to, if it's going to make you feel that much better and kind of put your mind more at ease, I would say, wear a watch that's comfortable, and, maybe a smaller watch, or better yet, get like something that's like a magnet or something you can like stick to the top. Oh, that's a good idea. That might work really well. Something like that would be dope. But yeah, so when you get into the tank, also make sure that when you sit down, you want to stay as still as possible. And I would actually recommend that you try to get, if you have the option, right? They have the tanks that are big, like small room size, and then they have the small, more coffin-like tanks. I absolutely like the coffin-like tanks way better, because when you're in these big ones, like, they look really awesome and cool, but then you can't tell where you are, and if you don't sit down perfectly still, you're going to start to drift, and then you might end up getting stuck in a corner or something like that. So I really prefer the coffin type, because you can kind of get in, and then you can like put your arms out to the side, and maybe even your feet out to the side, and kind of like steady yourself dead center, and then float your arms in. Definitely you want to get into the tank slowly, because the more waves and stuff you got going on in the water is going to make you drift around. So when you get into the tank, get kind of to the middle-ish area, sit down, and then when you lie back very slow. Try to get into a position where you don't want to move. Like, Forrest covers it in this book here, but like staying very still for when you meditate is extremely important, and even more so in a tank. So, try to get back, get comfortable. They do, like, if your neck starts to feel kind of weird because you're floating in the water, right? They do have like these little neck cushion things, which I don't like to use because you can feel it, even though my neck can get kind of screwy in there, because I don't want to feel anything. So if your neck does get uncomfortable, do the meditation thing to drop that shit. As long as it's not like so uncomfortable that it starts to hurt or something, then maybe use the neck floaty thing. Okay, so what do you do while you're in the tank? So one of the reasons why I like this whole HRV resonant breathing thing so much is it's so simple that, essentially I feel like anybody can do it and give you a nice simple blueprint to follow while you're in there for your meditation. So for this whole HRV resonant thing, it's an acronym, stands for heart rate variability breathing, is you want to slow your breathing down so it's 7 breaths per minute or less, ideally less. Like, the slower you can get that while it's still being comfortable, the better. You are wearing earplugs in there, and also when you're in there floating, it becomes very, very easy. It's like almost like, it's like too obvious. It can kind of be bothersome at some points to feel and hear and sense your heart beating, right? So it's very easy to track how your heart beats along with your breath. And so also for this whole HRV resonant breathing thing is you do want the exhales to be a little bit longer than the inhales. So, you could simply count, right? Like, say, count in your head 5 seconds on the inhale, or maybe like 4 seconds on the inhale will make it a little bit easier. And then 6 seconds on the exhale. So, 10 seconds, that would be 6 breaths per minute. So something like that could really work. But what I found was working great in there is because you can feel your heart beating so hard and it's so obvious, is that you can just use your heartbeats instead of counting, right? So you inhale 1, 2, get to like whatever, 8. I was starting out at 8 heartbeats up, and then exhaling I was hitting like 10 plus. But by the time I was really slowing my breath down to get in the zone, I was hitting like 15, 20 heartbeats on the inhale, and then all more than that on the exhale. So that can be a nice kind of tool or aid to follow while you're in the tank. And then also, something I thought was really neat in there is that sometimes when you're really following your breath, I can kind of get too stuck in my head. And like when I switch from an inhale to an exhale or vice versa, it's kind of hard. I don't know, it just kind of seems jarring, right? So what you can do is time when you start your inhale or your exhale to the heartbeat. And I found that to be just really sync things up and got like the weird jolt to like a new state, or a new state and whatever, as you're breathing in and out. By timing that to the heartbeat, to me, made a huge difference. So you kind of time it to that. You count the beats as you're going up, count the beats as you're going down. Make sure when you're going down and exhaling that it's more beats than on the inhale. Eventually, as you get like really comfortable and in the zone and really focused in on it, you can just basically drop all of that and just keep your breath rate as slow as it can be while still being comfortable. And then, for me, what else am I going to do in there? But I love watching my hypnagogic imagery. And so then, watch these little different flashes and things pop up. And really the vast majority of my hypnagogic, of learning that stage 1 of sleep, liminal, hypnagogic, mental imagery stuff, a whole bunch of that stuff for me came to me while I was in the float tank. And so float tanks, honestly, man, because it's such an ideal place for meditation, I cannot imagine a better place to learn how to meditate than in the float tank. A lot of the stuff I came up with, my own personal meditation practice, because I never really had a meditation teacher, right? This is the first book too I've ever read on meditation, minus, I think it was like Hardcore Zen. My uncle gave me a book. It was one of my first books, kind of getting into like this whole, dreaming meditation stuff. This Hardcore Zen book my uncle gave me a long time ago. So I read that, but I found this book to be a lot more helpful just for specifically learning the practice. But it's cool that as I'm reading this, a lot of the stuff I kind of just stumbled into on my own through exploring my own meditation practice. It's cool to see him bring up very similar things in there. And a great example of this is, I used to call it like my body buzz meditation. Look up my videos from probably like 5 years ago now or something like that. And something I realized is as I was meditating in the tank is at some points like my body would start buzzing. I would notice it normally first in my extremities or my lower abdomen. And then as I'm slowing down this whole breathing thing, I start to realize, man, it gets to the point where my whole body is buzzing. And then he brings it up in the book calling it like your skin begins to tingle. It's one of his 4 signs or 4 proofs that your meditation is actually working. And while I can absolutely find that same skin tingly feeling, wherever it is I'm meditating, it's a lot easier. And it was, easier for me to find, at least initially, just basically stumble into while doing it in the float tank. And it's, just a very cool, pleasant body buzz you got going on. And when you really get focused in on it, man, like your whole body is like vibrating with it, and it's super awesome. Another thing I'll just kind of throw in there that you can play around with while in the tank. This is where I came up with my whole play dead meditation, which is something he actually recommends not to do in the book. But what you do is on the exhale, right? And I was following my heartbeats. Also, another thing you can pay attention to is notice how your heartbeat slow down a little bit on the exhale and speed up a little bit on the inhale. But at the very bottom of my long exhale, because I was just, essentially, I stumbled into this breathe really slow thing and follow your heartbeat stuff just on my own before reading it in the book. But when you get to the very bottom is I would pause. And he recommends not to pause in the book, but I would pause. And at the very bottom, like in between my heartbeat, I just try to completely turn off and play dead. And I found a lot of times at that specific point is when the buzz would initially start. And then once the buzz starts up, you can just start to use that as your object of attention, start to build it out until your whole body's buzzing. And you got this weird body high thing going on, which he says leads to the freeze response, very similar to what we're in at night when we're dreaming, so we don't act out our dreams while we're going through them. And yeah, just a lot of cool shit, which really bums me out if this place closes it down, because where am I going to go to have my float tank sessions after that? But anyway, yeah, rambled on long enough. How long is that? Geez, 14 minutes. All right, better cut it off. So with this said, that's it. Until the next video, keep your meditation practice legit.